YouTube, what is good? It is your boy Flex, and put your muscles up, because we back with another video. So in today's video, man, we're going to be reacting to The Purple Lakai, the story of a Liverpool crime legend. So let's go ahead and cut out all the chit chat, man. Grab your headphones, turn the volume up, get that full experience. Let's get into the videos. Watch it, let's go.
Welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more content. Today we take a look at a man who has been described by some as a muscle-obsessed stalker. This man, it has been alleged, has been harassing young men and boys to feel and measure their muscles since at least the 1980s, and with deadly consequences. Akinwale Arobiki was born on July 15, 1961, at Crumpsall Hospital in Crumpsall, Manchester. His mother, Abisola Arobiki, was a secretarial student and his father is unknown. At the age of only 6 months, he entered the foster care system. He spent time in Barnardo's home in Llandudno in Conwy, but would later move to Liverpool. But this seemingly normal and uneventful early years didn't give a true representation of the monster that was soon to come. In the 1980s, Mr. Arobiki turned his attention to Gary Kelly, a 16-year-old athlete from Birkenhead. He would follow him around and ask to feel his muscles. Eventually, the young man would become so disturbed that he went to the police. The officers already had a picture of Mr. Arobiki ready to be identified, which Gary Kelly promptly did. Mr. Arobiki was served with a harassment order, and he wasn't allowed near the area in which Mr. Kelly and his family lived. But this tale wouldn't end with that. While at a swimming pool with his friends, Mr. Kelly would catch sight of Mr. Arobiki. Terrified, he bolted from his friends, desperate to get away from the man who had been stalking him. He tried to evade the man ducking around the crowds, but Mr. Arobiki had seen him and allegedly started following him. Panicked, Mr. Kelly had attempted to evade him by hiding in New Brighton's railway station, hiding in a stationary train before wandering around the platform waiting for the coast to be clear. When he saw Mr. Arobiki again, he made a bid to escape by crawling under a train, and accidentally touched a live rail. Gary Kelly was electrocuted to death, having only been trying to escape the person he should have been safe from in the first place. He left behind a 3-month pregnant girlfriend. During the sentencing, an additional 12 alleged offences were gathered to lie on file in order to keep track of any patterns that would and did emerge. Mr. Arobiki was convicted of manslaughter. However, this was overturned only a few years later. He argued that there wasn't any law against standing and watching the trains, and no evidence to confirm that he had actually been chasing the teenager down. Mr. Arobiki also complained of the racist overtones in the case from the prosecution and the officers involved, and was given £35,000 in compensation after a Home Office investigation in 1989. Mr. Arobiki would only spend 2.5 years in prison for his manslaughter charge. In the following years, it wouldn't be his only run-in with the law, nor would it be the only time his threats were taken at face value. In March of 1997, an article was run by the Sunday People detailing how warnings had been issued to rugby teams after Mr. Arobiki focused his attentions on some of the players. He was accused of gaining information of players' addresses from a fake press pass. He attacked players' houses, vandalised their cars and threatened them with violence. One player complained to the club that Mr. Arobiki had lifted him off the ground and actually was doing squats with him on his shoulders. Another claimed that the man had thrown a brick through his window. The police were notified, but he evaded another prison sentence. When she was 13 in the year 2000, Kelly Mullaney lived with her family, including her younger brother. Whilst walking to the park one time, Mr. Arobiki attempted to talk to Mullaney's brother and feel his muscles, and she threatened to call the police on him. But this wasn't to end with just that. 30 minutes later, arriving back to their home, rapid banging at the door startled Kelly Mullaney. When she looked out the window and saw it was Mr. Arobiki, who demanded that she come outside, she refused. He then greeted her with a gun pushed through the mailbox, and the 6-foot 5-inch man screaming, "You're fucking dead, you're dead, you're dead." Petrified, the teenage girl called the police, who arrived with 6 police vehicles. Mr. Arobiki was arrested for threatening to kill, but no traces of a gun were ever found. While he denied any wrongdoings, he acknowledged that his actions could be perceived as threatening, even though he had been approaching them out of want of genuine friendship, or at least so he claimed. He was jailed for 30 months at Warrington Crown Court on August 3rd, 2001. But Miss Mullaney still didn't feel safe. Mr. Arobiki's words still rattling around inside her head. She entered a witness protection program and moved halfway across the country.
So this guy is straight up a predator, bro. Straight up a predator. I don't even know why this guy is a topic of subject. Like these type of men, these type of people, honestly, in my opinion, are scums. Like they shouldn't. We shouldn't even have to waste a second of our time and our energy on these types of people, bro. Like he's a predator preying on people that are weaker than him. It's disgusting, bro.
After Mr. Arabiki was convicted of harassment and threatening to kill Miss Mullaney, Merseyside police launched an investigation into his behaviour, dubbing it Operation Ice. Over 120 people were interviewed, and a disturbing pattern quickly started to emerge. Mr. Arabiki would wait outside gyms, sports clubs and colleges until finding a suitable target, namely muscular young men. He would approach them and ask to feel their muscles or watch them squat, and he wouldn't leave until they would let him do so. Mr. Arabiki even carried a tape measure around to measure the calves, thighs and chests of his victims. When he had his sights set on a particular boy, he would grow obsessive and start showing up wherever they were, learning private details of their lives and their families. A family entered into a witness protection program after Mr. Arabiki wouldn't leave their son alone, and when the police searched Mr. Arabiki's home, they found numerous pictures of muscular men and the personal details of over a dozen victims, including phone numbers and their body measurements. The investigation would end with Mr. Arabiki pleading guilty to 15 separate counts of harassment and witness intimidation. An astonishing 61 counts of harassment were also alleged, but weren't pursued during the case. 31 restraining orders were granted by the judge to protect the young men and witnesses that had been named during the case. On December 15, 2003, Mr. Arabiki was jailed for 6 years. His reign of terror didn't end there either now he was in prison. Multiple inmates came forward to say that Mr. Arabiki had demanded to measure their biceps with a shoelace, but the man denied the accusations were true, saying that they were baseless. No matter how unfounded these accusations were, Mr. Arabiki was moved 14 times because of them. Following the release of Mr. Arabiki from prison in 2006, the Merseyside police appealed for an interim sexual offences prevention order against him, and it was considered unusual as he had never been convicted of a sex offence, and denied getting sexual gratification from touching muscles, but it was still granted due to the cases that had been ordered to lie on file. Under the Sexual Offences Prevention Order, he was not allowed to feel people's muscles, ask them to do exercises in public, or approach any young person under the age of 18. It also banned him from St Helens, Warrington and Widnes without the permission of either the Chief Constable of Merseyside or the Chief Constable of Cheshire. He was also banned from loitering around or entering gyms and sports clubs. The SOPO order was originally meant to be temporary, but it was made permanent by Judge Bruce McMillan in 2007. His reasoning was that it was clear that his touching of boys and young men is motivated by a sexual urge.
Right.
Mr. Arabiki admitted that he had an unhealthy obsession with muscles and the potential of young men to improve their physique, but still denied that it was sexual. No matter what his intentions were, the SOPO order strictly forbade any contact with minors or asking men to feel their muscles. It quickly became apparent that this was outside of what Mr. Arabiki could or would be willing to do. On May 25, 2007, Mr. Arabiki breached the SOPO order by approaching a young man and touching his bicep after travelling to Preston, Lancashire, and he was jailed for a further 15 months. Later in the summer of 2008, Mr. Arabiki would be back in court as he tried to appeal the Sexual Offences Protection Order, claiming that he had been through counselling that had helped him realise what he was doing, and he apologised to the victims, saying that if I am towering over them and I am a big black man, they may not really be consenting, they may be consenting out of fear. Despite the claims, he still showed erratic and unstable behaviour during the court proceedings, and the judge upheld the SOPO order. The second confirmed breach of the SOPO order was in April of 2009, not long after the SOPO order had actually been upheld by the court. Arabiki accosted a frightened 17-year-old boy in Birkenhead, trying to feel his biceps. He was jailed for 18 months, and it was his 72nd confirmed offence. Another 2.5 years were slapped onto Arabiki after he breached the SOPO order again, by touching the muscles of a 16-year-old boy in Llandudno, North Wales. Mr. Arabiki defended himself in court, arguing that it was all a hoax. The police receive several calls a day saying that I am in locations across the country, even when I'm in prison. Unswayed, the judge found him guilty. In August of 2013, Mr. Arabiki started to win his court cases. He was cleared of all charges relating to his breaking of his SOPO order after defending himself, claiming that it was nothing more than a modern-day witch hunt. He was partly able to prove his point because of the mishandling of the case on the part of the officers, who, desperate to prove his guilt, had approached an alleged victim before the 16-year-old had been ready to come forward. The police also continuously referred to him as Purple Aki. The nickname itself is inherently racist. The purple is derived from people saying he is so black he's practically purple. And this misconduct on the part of the police force became a foreboding cloud that only weakened their case against Mr. Arabiki. Another case in October of 2013 collapsed when it surfaced that the officer involved had been provoking Mr. Arabiki and made other questionable conduct decisions. And Mr. Arabiki wasn't charged. However, he had been forced to spend up to close to 2 years on remand awaiting charges that would inevitably be dropped, or that he was acquitted from. Mr. Arabiki was inevitably charged with breaking his SOPO order once again on the 1st of October 2015. Calling himself Andy, he had met a student on a train and asked to feel and measure his biceps. The student wouldn't realise who he had been talking to until a month later when he read an article on Mr. Arabiki. Despite claiming that it was a setup by the police, he was convicted by a unanimous jury decision. Eventually, Mr. Arabiki would have his sexual offences protection order lifted. In May 2016 at Manchester Crown Court, Judge Richard Mansell said that there was no justifiable proof that Arabiki obtained sexual gratification from feeling his victim's muscles, and that order restrictions could no longer be justified. Now, the name Purple Aki has become an urban legend in the UK underworld. Parody accounts of him can be found across all social media. There's an Instagram page dedicated to him wanting to legalise cannabis, and a Twitter profile with his face photoshopped onto a naked muscular man. Most of the fear that once surrounded him has faded away, and to many he's nothing more than a local boogeyman. But the question still remains, is this an act of taking a predator's power away, or is it laced with racism overtones that will do more damage than good?
A house?
Very interesting. So, this one is a weird one, right? Because for one, I don't even know why he's even considered any type of legend, right? The story is weird, right? It's weird because he's portrayed as a predator, right? Anytime you're going around asking people just asking people to feel on them, you know what I mean? You're weird, right? Especially younger males. And you're going, hey, oh, can I feel your muscles? Like, you look so strong. Like, that's weird. You know what I mean? Like, if you're coming up to my children, my 15, 16, 17-year-old or whatever, and you're asking them to feel their muscles, and you're showing up to different locations that where they're at, I'm going to consider you a predator. Because that's what you're doing. You're literally hunting down these people to feel their muscles. Whether it can be proven if you have sexual gratification or if you get sexual gratification from that or not, it's still weird and it's still predatory behavior. You know what I mean? Like, whether you're black, white, green, yellow, orange, you know what I mean? That behavior, in my opinion, is totally unacceptable. All right. Now, when it comes to how they handle the case, you know what I mean? Like, of course, it's never going to be perfect, right? Because every single justice system has their downfalls, right? But still, it doesn't justify anything that he has done, even though there's no real proof. It's weird behavior, and I don't even understand why there is even a documentary about this guy. This guy's a weirdo. Whether you can prove it or not, the dude's weird. Okay, that's my opinion. Dude's weird, man. But hey, as always, man, you guys make sure to give this video a thumbs up, post in the comments down below, and of course, hit that big red button. Until next time, man, watch out for cats like this, because they're definitely still around. They're everywhere. Put your muscles up. I'm out of here. Peace.